and I'll continue saying that all the way through today.
The last meeting.
It's the 9 lives, then a Zion. But a dear friend, and since we dedicated officially the last committee meeting to Councilman Zine, we're going to undedicate that meeting and dedicate now this meeting to him. And thanks for coming, and appreciate it. And if we could, we said a lot about Dennis last time, but I can't say enough about a dear friend who truly has dedicated his entire life to public service and to the city of Los Angeles. And we're a better city because of it. We're a safer city. We're more fiscally responsible. And it's going to be tough to come here next week and not see him sitting around the horseshoe. So with that, if we could, let's give Dennis the round of applause he deserves.
Thank you.
With that, we don't have a quorum yet. If we get one, we'll go ahead. Well, as I start off every meeting, I'd let you know the rules. We're not required to have public comment, and in fact, one of the problems is, and if you're going to disrupt the meeting, then you're going to be asked to leave. So we're not required to have public comment. And one more outburst and from you, sir, and you'll be okay. So I'm going to ask you, if you're disrupting the meeting, then you can leave. We don't heckle. That's also one of the rules of the quorum.
I can.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to step out of the room, please. Okay. Okay. Yes, you can. So I'm going to ask you to leave the room. Thank you. And one of the problems is we don't legally satisfy public comment. And if we have a quorum, we shall offer public comment. Is what the rule is. It says we shall offer public comment in any committee meeting. However, since it's not considered technically a committee meeting, it's a communication from the chair and other members, because it's not a committee, then we also then have to reopen and offer public comment at some point before the legislative body takes action. So anytime a committee has lack of a quorum and it's communications from the chair and it goes to the full city council, it's agendized as not satisfying public comment, because we couldn't if we didn't have a quorum, and then therefore we opened it up for public comment then at the council. And so as the majority of committees follow those rules as well, so do we. And so with that, we do ask, therefore, then all committee members try to be present for committees so we can satisfy that and have the dialogue on the record. Otherwise, it's not on the record. However, I do ask the clerk that if you filled out a speaker card, that the speaker cards be submitted as part of the record, that you did show up and try to participate as well. Unfortunately, again, the rules don't allow the satisfaction of public comment being satisfied. So no matter what we did, we have to open it up at council. And so I'm letting you know that as well. It is my hope that the new members have the same type of attendance on this committee starting next week that Dennis Zine has had continuously since he's been on this Public Safety Committee. I know Joe Buscaino is out of town and excused. It's a 5-member committee. It's easier to get a quorum on this committee than others that only have 3. And so I'll encourage the new members of Public Safety to participate and show up to one of the most important meetings that I consider of all the committees on the City Council of Public Safety. So with that, we're going to go through, as a communication from the chair, consent items, unless Mr. Zine has any he would like to talk about. My suggestions would be items 1.
I got a question, someone.
We'll hold 1 on the table. Mr. Zine has a question on 1. Item 2, 3, 5. Item 6, and item 8, 9, 10, and 11 are all Graffiti Rewards as well. By the way, the Graffiti Awards reward that we offer, $1,000, that these individuals are getting, is because their tip led to the apprehension and conviction of graffiti vandals, which we've spent millions of dollars on every year. So just by calling it in and not taking matters into their own hands, not stopping these individuals, but calling in as they see it occurring, and getting LAPD roll out on it and make a good arrest, they're getting a $1,000 check from the City of Los Angeles, which is fantastic. And so we encourage everybody to call if they see graffiti occurring, because it costs us millions of dollars. And it does lead to the apprehension and conviction. Part of that conviction is also fines and community service to go out and clean up graffiti to these people that are doing it. So we're very grateful for that. So we're going to hold item 1. We're going to hear items 4 and 7, but we're going to first adjourn to the special committee meeting. So we'll adjourn, accept all those other items, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Note and file items 3 and item 5. We'll hold the regular agenda, adjourn that, and to open up the special meeting.
Recess it?
So we'll recess that, and we'll come back to all of those, open up the special meeting, and start off with item 1.
Good morning, John White, City Clerk. Special item 1, motion Krikorian, Koretz, Rosendahl, Zine, relative to the Los Angeles Fire Department continuing its current staffing plan through July 31st, 2013, and directing the CAO to report relative to any required budget adjustments in the financial status report.
Good morning, Chief. And appreciate you being here at Public Safety this morning. Really, really appreciate it. Know how you're really, you're a little busy. So I wanted to take your item first.
Thank you, sir.
And if you could just sort of walk us through this and your thoughts. Now, I know this budget request is not coming from you, but if you can walk us through some of your ideas or thoughts or concerns as it relates to this.
Absolutely, Councilman Englander. On May 5th, the fire department reconfigured staffing to staff 11 BLS ambulances. We moved those firefighter positions onto ambulances from 22 of our light forces, thereby reducing the staffing from 6 to 5. This motion, the City Council gave the department $1.5 million in the current fiscal year to extend staffing on those light forces through June 30th. What this is requesting is that we continue staffing those 22 light forces through the end of July as the council and public safety continue to look at this issue. The department's willing to do that, understanding that there is a cost to continue staffing those positions on overtime, and also understanding that we will struggle over the 4th because of additional augmentation of resources to make sure that we can staff them. But the department's willing to move forward with that.
Okay, let me just jump off on the fact that I've got some serious concerns about not staffing the ambulances, but also the reciprocation of that effect of taking the 10th man off in order to do so.
Yes, sir.
But I also have some serious concerns over legislatively dictating deployment. And so there's this dilemma. Or legislatively dictating it through budgetary transfers. And then I think beyond the public safety issue that we can dive into, I also think it sends the wrong message that we as a council are micromanaging deployment and not having full faith in our rank and file and the chief. And that's sort of the message that this does. At the same time, though, you can look at that from a different perspective and say, since we're not fully funding the critical efforts of the department from the city, and the fact that the department has been decimated over the years, and we've got some good restoration in it for this coming year. $20 million going into fleet and maintenance and operations and capital equipment. Another 45 million back into the department, restarting up, hiring a lot of good things happening as we're starting to rebound in the economy.
Yes, sir. Very
No
good thing.
question. But this sort of shuffle and shell game of the fact that we haven't been able to fully fund yet both the 10th man and the expansion of or the addition of the other 11 ambulances. And so it becomes this this game of which one is either more important or and saying they're both important.
Right.
So we need to do both, and we're going to come back and say, well, let's just do it through July. And then what happens at the end of July?
Right.
If we don't do it at all, the department's going to run a significant deficit yet again and not make it through the fiscal year.
Correct, sir.
It would be my advice and my suggestion that there's a hybrid in there. And that hybrid in looking at moving forward is instead of looking at it from a snapshot of 1 month, you look at all the deployment periods through the year. We have an annual budget, and that annual budget is looked at and analyzed quarterly through the FSR, our financial status reports. With the FSR, we get those updates. That update, you're fully funded for the entire year. We don't fund the department month to month. With that, to say we can't make it through July is accurate if you divide the annual budget by 12, or in your case, I guess 13 by deployment periods, right? So we can make it through July. We just run a deficit that doesn't get us through the end of the year, and then there's too much month at the end of the money. I get that. So there's two ways to look at it. I would think or hope that we could buy some time with looking at the public safety plan that's come out of the Fire Commission and looking to update that. Looking at, we've got a new mayor and 7 new council members starting, 6 on Monday. I think there's a great opportunity rather than just trying to throw money at it. And it's a strategy that the fire department doesn't utilize. You don't just throw water on a fire. You look for, you have backfires, you look at using different agents, you deploy and position personnel in different types of equipment depending on the type of fire, whether it's chemical or otherwise. I mean, we've got to take the same strategic and tactical approach in funding public service and public safety. And so with that, rather than just throw money at the problem or just put water on the fire, if you will, I think there needs to be an opportunity where we get this new administration engaged, and I know they want to be, where we get the opportunity for you as a chief to be the chief and not just throw money at it, where you can sit down with both the rank and file, UFLAC, Command Officers Association, and the new mayor, the new council members, and look at, and as long as it's clear on the record, and we all understand that if we move forward and don't transfer the money, and I'm not advocating one way or the other, I'm just looking for options, but I just think it sends the wrong message. The money's going to be there either way. If we transferred this money out of the reserve or we took it out of the Budget Stabilization Fund in the first FSR or the second FSR, it's the same money. It's the same thing. It's just on paper. It doesn't move. We can still have the 10th man and the 11 as long as everybody was under the clear understanding and direction from you that we're going to run into that deficit. It's either now, pay me now, or pay me later. But either way, we don't have to July 1st move those 10th man, or we could do both as long as everybody knew that there's going to either you give me the money now or we're going to run in deficit, one of the two. But it allows that dialogue to occur. And instead of this knee-jerk reaction, Band-Aid solution, month to month to month type of scenario where it becomes more politics than public safety, which is my concern, and allowing you to run the department as long as you're up front with the fact that we're going to be running a deficit and here's why, I don't see why we couldn't move forward in that scenario. So I'd like to get your input on that.
Absolutely. I've said quite often on the record that having more firefighters will provide more service to the city of Los Angeles. That is the optimum solution, is to to have the positions there so that we can staff the 10th member and have those ambulances that are there. Yes, what you say is absolutely correct. I will keep those positions staffed through the month of July and continuing forward until we can have an opportunity to have a more thorough discussion on exactly what it is that the city would like to fund and what's the best way to provide for public safety, firefighter safety, and service delivery in the city of Los Angeles.
Okay, so we can get a commitment that those would be staffed with or without the transfer of the dollars. As long as we all understand, you're either going to get it now or we're going to run up the deficit of that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Zine.
Fine.
So what we'll go ahead and let's move this to council with no recommendation since we don't have a quorum anyway. We'll continue that discussion. I believe the discussion is taking place today.
Today.
So, okay, we'll see you soon.
Outstanding. Thank you very
Chief.
much, Mitch. Dennis.
Thank you.
Number 2 on the special.
Yes, number 2, we'll go ahead and, we can go ahead and move that on consent
Okay, approved? Very good.
and approve.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we'll go ahead and open it up. Mr. Zine had a question. We'll go and adjourn the special meeting, reopen the regular scheduled meeting, and take number 1 for Mr. Zine.
Item 1, see a report relative to a LAPD contract with NCM Contracting Group LP for lead abatement services at 3 LAPD firearm range sites for a contract term of 3 years with 2 additional 1-year extension options and for an amount of $2,991,813.
Well, my concern is not with the removal. My concern is with the employees that are assigned to those locations and any health issues that have impacted any of those employees because of contamination. And the concern is, have we had any incidents? Have we had any concerns? Have we had employees who have suffered any type of health issue because of the contamination? I remember in Northeast Station we had a situation where there was contamination and serious issues and concerns with employees. I'm concerned about that aspect of this, that we need to obviously make sure that it's done in a proper fashion, and we know that lead has consequences, but the fact of the matter is my concern is the employees, both sworn and civilian. And Lieutenant, I know that you're the man in charge of that, so maybe you know IOD, excessive sick because of exposure to the elements at those sites, those locations.
No, sir, we've not had that issue. Previously, some years back before we had these contracts, those ranges just simply gathered lead. All the employees who work there have their lead and their hearing tested once a year. So there have been no excessive lead, and if the lead levels get too high, that employee is removed from the range. This contract pulls the lead out of these backstops so that there is no greater chance of lead exposure. It's more or less mandated by Cal OSHA. That's why we do it.
I know there's no safety equipment that the employees are required to wear as in other industries, and it's just a concern about the health and welfare of both the sworn and civilian that are assigned there for extended periods of time. It's not like officer goes up and qualifies every couple of months, there for a minimum amount of time, but those folks are there as a career for an extended period of time. And so if we haven't had a problem and Cal OSHA's addressed it, that's fine. I just want to make sure that we've got that covered for the health and welfare of the employees.
We do.
We actually have a park that's been closed for a number of years, Chatsworth Park South in my district. And the city purchased that park 1945 or so. And it was an old skeet shoot. It was a shooting range. And there's lead all over the park. It's been that way since the 50s. Kids playing there for all those years. All the maintenance workers that have been cutting the lawn. We had maintenance workers that were there for dozens of years working there at that park. We got a complaint a few years ago about the lead, and which was just in plain view. And for all those years, went and looked at it and went, yeah, it's lead. And we shut the park down. It's going to cost us probably $7 million to reopen it and mitigate it and remove all the lead and the dirt, and et cetera. Having said that, the first thing we did after we shut it down is we contacted the county, partnered with them, entered into an agreement with the Department of Toxics and Substance Control, and we contacted and tracked down every employee that ever worked there. Not one of them had any trace or tracking of any lead poisoning whatsoever. Not one complaint or issue from any of the residents living nearby. Not that lead isn't hazardous, as we all know it is, but apparently none of those employees ingested any of it, and just by being airborne and above base level, certainly, or background, wasn't enough, thank God, to contaminate any of them. And so while there's always been this concern and it has to be cleaned up and mitigated at the ranges and everything else, and we haven't heard any issues with LAPD, we want to make sure they're safe. It's important to know that we've seen massive exposure way beyond what these officers are experiencing, and we haven't seen any direct health effect to that. The only health effect that I've seen is a personal friend of mine who served 35 years on LAPD and 12 years as a city councilman. He lost all his hair, but I'm not sure if that was...
Thank you very much.
I think that happens to the best of us.
All right, with that, we'll go ahead and
That's all I had.
accept the contract. Great. Thank you.
Item
Thank
2 is approved. Did you...
Was that item 2 or item 1?
That was item 1.
Item 1 is approved, thank you. Did you want to hear item 7, the donation of...
Yeah, actually, I didn't want to hear item 7. I just wanted to make an acknowledgement on item 7 and thank AT&T. I had some questions. Well, you know what? We'll go ahead and hear it. I did have a couple questions, but before I just thank AT&T. Is this thing on? Can you hear me now? I'm sorry, it's AT&T, so it was... Never mind. All right. There's a Verizon. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm going to get sued now. All right. What was the? I wanted to find out from staff just what the basis of this settlement between EPA was and what led to this donation, if I could. Is there anybody from staff here on this item? From is Mr. Tiefenk? Yeah.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
You know what? He's so good. He doesn't even have. He'll just tell me right here and now.
He's got that look.
I was talking to Mr. Edo. I didn't hear your question,
Oh, I'm
sir.
sorry.
I
That's
apologize.
okay. On item 7, it was the donation of emergency response trailer from AT&T to LAPD. This is the incident command post to enhance operational capabilities of hazardous devices and materials investigations and emergency service division, particularly for officer-involved shootings, OIS investigations. And so wanted to find out what this donation, where it came from, what the history might be, the basis of this.
To the best of my understanding, it's a settlement with AT&T as related to a past lawsuit. It's a donation to relative to that. Commission accepted it without question from the department, and the appropriate acknowledgement from the commission to AT&T will be sent to them upon the council finally accepting it.
And you know what the lawsuit was based on?
No, sir, I don't.
Okay, can you let me know before it comes to council?
Absolutely, we'll find out for you.
Great, excellent. And also, again, wanted to thank AT&T. I know, my understanding, this is over and above as well, and the fact that they've put special equipment in this and done a great job with putting this together. So, I want to acknowledge AT&T for all their efforts.
As does the commission.
Yes, thank you
very much.
Mr.
Do you
Smith,
want
have
that to publicly council or just to advise you, sir,
You could
personally?
just advise me. That's
Yes, sir. We'll
please.
do so.
Thank
Thank you.
It's good
My
to
staff.
approve.
For the
Excellent.
record, Richard Tiefenk, Executive Director of the Police Commission.
Thank you, Richard. All right, we'll go ahead and approve that.
Thank you.
That'll be the action of this committee. That takes us to
Item 4.
item 4.
Item 4, presentations regarding the Sempra Energy Southern California Gas Company natural gas storage facility located in Playa del Rey, and reports relative to safety concerns that have been expressed following an explosion on January 6th, 2013.
Great, thank you. And again, I wanted to thank all those who filled out comment cards on this item. There are quite a few. They're all going to be part of the record, but the other part of that, the important part of that, is that when we actually can legally satisfy public comment, we'll go ahead and submit these cards on your behalf as well for this item for the full City Council. Wanted to also thank Councilman Rosendahl for bringing this item forward.
Good morning, council members. I'm Nate Kaplan from Councilman Rosendahl's office. The councilman apologizes for not being here personally today, but he said he wanted me to let you know that even though it's his last day today, this is a very important issue for him, and he really appreciates you hearing it this morning. I want to recognize the gas company for being here, LAPD, the fire department, AQMD, and then CPUC. We all hope to get some answers from them today. I also want to thank the public for attending. This is an issue that affects them directly, and that's why we're here today. If you don't mind, can we have, since there won't be public comment, can you raise your hand if you're here from the public to hear this issue? Okay, thanks.
Excellent, thank you. And this is an issue that I care deeply about as well. Knowing the storage facility and the explosion that occurred on January 6th, we've got one of the largest, in fact, I believe the largest natural gas storage facility in Southern California in my district. And it's massive. And I've got serious concerns about the safety. And I don't get any regular briefings, quite frankly, from the gas company on this either. And so we need to bring this and have more transparency on this. And I get a lot of phone calls and concerns for my district. We've seen what happens in other areas that have occurred as well. There's a history, safety concerns. And so while there may be regular testing, I don't believe that testing is transparent. So we need to do more to ensure that people are safe and protected. On top of that, the one in my district is happens to be one of the hearts of one of the highest fire severity zones in the entire region as well, and backs up to a mountain range that is a lot of it which has been developed as well, and a lot of wildlife. And so any eruption there or any occurrence there triggers beyond just an explosion and debris, would cause, as we see those, our fire seasons, our annual fires, if you will, that happen from Porter Ranch and Granada Hills and the northwest San Fernando Valley that often burn all the way down to the beach. We've seen those. We've done many evacuations. We've lost structures up there. We saw from the Cesnon fire, the Sayre fire, all those fires. That goes right through where the natural gas storage is, by the way. And so I have very deep concerns over the safety as well. So I appreciate you bringing this forward. I appreciate all the residents that have showed up today, too. And just the fact that your names are going to be part of the record that you're here with concern. I really do appreciate that. And I hope to have a real full discussion in council on this as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you. I have a prepared statement from Councilman Rosendahl that I'd like to read, and a brief video that will illustrate what happened on the day of January 6th. Dear colleagues, thank you for hearing this important issue today. My office received calls from many concerned residents on the Westchester Bluffs who are concerned about their safety. On January 6th, the Sempra Energy Southern California Gas Company's natural gas storage facility located in Playa del Rey experienced a high-pressure gas leak, which ignited and shot a flame approximately 100 feet into the air. Gas company staff were able to stop the flow of the gas, and with the assistance of our fire and police units, the flame was fully extinguished within an hour. At this time, I'd like to show you a video clip to illustrate what happened. This will take about a minute and a half.
I think it's appropriate that the video clip is on the wall over the fire alarm.
Right.
Nothing happens on accident in here.
Oh, that goes.
Operator. Or not.
For some reason now.
Technical difficulties.
Reloaded.
Well, if not, what I would suggest, is it streaming from YouTube? Is that the problem?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, and well, you don't appear to be online, that's the problem.
Right. It was online before the meeting started. I apologize. It's not working right now.
Well, what I would ask is if you can download the clip for council and put it on a DVD so we don't run into the problem down there, because we want to make sure that all the council members see it as well.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really important. If folks that are listening in or taking notes, what's the name of the clip? Do you have that so we can pull it up off YouTube on our own?
Yes. It's It's a
CBS
CBS2 explosion.
Okay.
I would do
CBS2 explosion should come up.
I got a feeling you'd want to search Playa del Rey. gas
Playa del Rey,
company.
yeah, not just CBS2 explosion, yes.
right.
And so,
CBS2
yeah.
did cover it.
Okay, great.
And I'll try my best real quickly to explain what happened, but there's 2 fires. One of them shot up in the air, and it's a pretty dramatic scene, and it shook a lot of the residents that live there, and the reporter gets that message across, where there's a kind of a booming flame that's shooting up that's not just blue, it's an orangey flame with smoke, which is an important detail.
No, thank you very much.
Sure.
Now, as the discretion of the chair, it doesn't legally satisfy the public comment. But we do have a lot of folks that got up early and got down here. And so I'll ask, while you're here, if you want to speak for a minute, rather than just keep your cards on file, for those who wish to, again, we have to reopen, or actually have to have public comment at council. As a chair, I can go either way on that. We historically don't, and because it doesn't satisfy it. But I'd like to recognize if there are a few here that would like to speak that filled out cards. Don't feel obligated, but because we're going to come back and hopefully. That's the other issue. On important matters, sometimes people come to committee and they'll testify, and then when it comes to the full council, they don't show up. And something that's so important, I would hope that you also come to speak to the full council about this when it does come. And that's one good thing, that when we don't satisfy public comment and it does come to the full city council, that we have to have public comment again, which is a good thing, but then oftentimes people don't show up to speak on it at that point. And that's the really important part, is when you've got all the other members there to listen. So I do appreciate you coming out this morning, and I will go ahead and open it up for those cards, for those, if there are a few that want to speak.
Thank you, Councilman.
So we'll go ahead and open it up for 1 minute on each of those, and Mr. Zine.
If you don't,
first.
I didn't finish the councilman's
Letter?
statement, if that's okay.
I got one question. What time did this happen?
Around noon, I believe.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, January 6th. It's right about noon.
A Sunday.
Yeah.
It was daylight hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll finish the remainder of Councilman Rosenthal's statement here. Following the incident, the gas company shut down its facility to perform an internal investigation. Now that the investigation is complete and the facility has reopened, we need to make sure the facility is safe. It's my understanding that the gas company, and the Air Quality Management District, and the California Public Utilities Commission performed investigations as well. I would like to know those facts. There's also a few specific questions I'd like to ask the gas company, AQMD, CPUC, and the fire department. 1, what caused the blast, and what are the chances that this or something similar could ever happen again? 2, were any toxic chemicals released into the air? 3, debris was collected and cleaned from many of my constituents' homes following this incident. What was this substance exactly? 4, were the fire department or LAPD personnel ever at risk when they arrived on the scene? And is there an emergency plan if a more significant event like this ever happens again? We can never allow another incident like what happened in San Bruno to ever happen in Los Angeles. I hope today's conversation ensures the safety of our citizens, and would appreciate a report back to your committee which answers the aforementioned questions. Thank you for your time and consideration. Regards, Bill Rosendahl.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask Marks Santoro, Avi Tarash, Ravi. And we can have 1 minute for each. Thank you. Patricia McPherson. You can all come up. Can we free up seats if we could, please?
Is this, you're still sitting there? Is this number 4 or public
Oh,
comment?
public comment.
Oh.
I'm sorry, yeah, no, it's item 4.
Item
Were you here for just general public comment?
Both.
Okay, so yeah, we probably won't have the opportunity for general public comment, but if you wanted to speak to item 4, we could
Yes.
certainly entertain that.
Thank you.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you. Morning.
Um,
Mark, if you want to go ahead and jump
Yes,
in.
thank you, sir. My name is Mark Santoro. I'm a resident of 7811 Faragua Drive, located above the Sempra Gas Company storage facility. As a result of the explosion and fire on January 6th, our property incurred significant damage due to the discharge of the explosive substance. that landed everywhere. We needed significant cleanup of the stone deck, outside swimming pool, pool equipment, outdoor furniture, vehicles, landscape plants, and more. The gas company employed a disaster mitigation team which mopped up visible debris and damage caused by the oily substance, but did not restore the property to its pre-explosion condition. We also have extreme concern about the long-term health effects upon ourselves, our family, our pets, and the wildlife in the Bologna Valley caused by this airborne particulate and residual which was left behind and not mitigated nor cleaned up. Further, following the January explosion and subsequent restart of operations, the gas company noise...
I'm sorry, sir. If you could, if you have a written, do you have a written statement you can submit as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you could submit that for the record, that'd be great. We'll go ahead and add it to the file.
Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Councilman Englander, if you don't mind, we got the internet back up, so I could show you that video if you think that's...
Well, let's
you'd like.
finish the other two speakers, and then we'll jump over to it if we could. Great. Thank you very much. Sir?
Yes,
Morning.
Good morning. My name is Abiti Rosh. I live on Paragua Drive. I live about 100 feet from a well called Skyline 1, and on several occasions, walking my dog near that well, I smelled a funny smell. My parents are Holocaust survivors. All my other family members, grandparents, uncle, aunts were killed in the Nazis' gas chambers. I do not want another Holocaust to happen. I feel we're slowly being poisoned. Once I became aware of this, I sleep with my windows closed. This is not pleasant, especially in the summer months. When my daughter was asking me, Daddy, what is the smell that I smell? I didn't want to scare her, and I told her, please make sure that the windows in the house are closed. Wildlife, when I was building my house, there were a lot more animals and birds. They all disappeared. They are smarter than we are. Where, I have a real concern.
Right. Okay. And let me ask you, too. I got the gist of it as well. Do you have a written statement? I know you're reading off something that you could submit.
But it's not printed out.
You can get it to us later.
Okay, sure.
That'd be great. If you get it to my office, we'll make sure that we add it to the record as well. But again, I want to encourage you to come and share this with the full city council as well. We'll have a real public discussion and more time, but more importantly, the opportunity to have a full quorum and have everybody part of this. This is very important, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Is the tape ready? Yes. Let's go one before we get to, if we could, I said it's going to take all three, so please.
My name is Patricia McPherson. I represent Grassroots Coalition, also Sierra Club, Airport Marina Group. Grassroots Coalition has a lengthy history in dealing with the Southern California Gas Company incidents. We have been in litigation with them for over 7 years. We have a settlement agreement that they have not fulfilled that calls for further testing beyond what DOGGR requires for them, because we too have concerns about underground gas migration that we believe is currently occurring. They have a long history of incidents. In 2003, for instance, they had an outgassing that went east of Lincoln Boulevard. In 2010, they were shut down by the Division of Oil and Gas due to reservoir gases escaping through multiple wells, one in particular that is at this location. So we have concerns because we have done PRAs. That well in particular is named for venting that is occurring and ongoing that they have not disclosed to the residents, that we also have as part of our SA, that they are supposed to disclose this to the residents. If I could just have 2 minutes from someone else that's delivering their time?
We don't have the ability to yield time, but...
For number 4, the item?
We don't have the ability to do that, but if you could, again, it appears that you've got a written statement as well. If you
Well,
could
I'll
submit
have
that,
her read what I have written
I
also.
appreciate that. Thank you very much. If we can go ahead and show the video as well.
This is wrong. Come here.
There's some still shots here, and then here moves into the channel 2 video.
I want you to read this sentence.
There's 2 planes there.
I want you to read this.
Obviously, we can't hear it, but I think it would be great just to point across when you show the flash.
Okay.
That's what we want to make sure, Councilman.
Mhm.
That's above the bluff. Jeez.
Okay. And the rest is interviews with neighbors.
Got it. This is also what I suggest. When this first, the motion was first introduced by the councilman, he had asked a special request that if we can actually do an off-site public safety meeting in the district and hopefully get hundreds of people to show up, or at least have the ability to share everything that they saw, all of their concerns, the representations, and the history that the Sierra Club has been engaged. I mean, this is not a one-page letter that's going to take, whether it's 1, 2, or 4 minutes, quite frankly, and I see how deep the files are. This is a big, much bigger discussion that in a 10 or 15 or 20-minute hearing isn't going to get even touch the surface on this at all. I mean, this is only the beginning of this discussion. The councilman wanted to have this off-site. I granted that and said I would not only be happy to do that, I would allow you to schedule it anytime you want as a special meeting of the Public Safety Committee, anywhere you want, weekends, evenings, you name it, and you can, let's do the off-sites in the district, near the location, and I granted that, just so you're all aware. For whatever reason, it didn't occur for, as the councilman is preparing in the transition, there's a lot going on and a lot of chaos involved, and organized chaos, but in that transition. I know that Mr. Bonin is very interested in this as well and very concerned. We have a couple options, and I'll ask you guys, maybe just by a show of hands, which is very untraditional, but where we can, go through this public comment in this 1 minute or 2 minutes, whatever. I don't think we get very far with what your concerns are, or certainly what mine are, and move this to City Council, or we have an option where we can keep this in committee. I can ask Mike, who's taking office on Monday, if he will continue this item and go with the original spirit of which this was first brought in, to have the off-site meeting in the district and allow a real communication and dialogue to occur. And so let me just ask this 2 ways, if I could. By a show of hands, for those that are here, would you rather I just sent this with no communication and to the full City Council? I see no hands. Would you rather I continue this in committee and ask our new representative from CD11 to have the off-site in the district and have a full public dialogue and discussion of this before it comes to the full City Council by a show of hands? Okay. And by those who didn't put their hands up, do you have an opinion on this, on those 2 directions? Not. Okay. We can continue going through the cards, but I'm going to take your advice on this. And just by the way, I don't know that any committee's ever done this, so bear with me. I think it's a good idea because this is a very important issue. Some of the comments that you read, sir, as well. You mentioned you have a daughter and you sleep with the windows shut because of the concern and the smell and the safety issue. I am a father. I have 2 kids as well. You mentioned your family, were victims of the Holocaust as well. I mean, all the things that certainly tugged on my emotions and my concern from a public safety also perspective, and I want to hear a lot more about this and what we're doing, what the PUC's doing, what the Sierra Club's doing. This is beyond a quick public safety meeting, and so I did also wanted to entertain Mr. Rosenthal's wish to try to get this in committee before he left, and I don't want this rushed, and that would be a mistake. And so I hope that you do hear my concern on this and take it to heart. So, Mr. Zine, do you have anything to add?
No, it's obviously an issue of great concern. It says it was caused by operator error. How do we avoid operator error? We know San Onofre with Edison, they finally decided to shut that down. Was it operator error? The bottom line is human beings are impacted, whether it's operator error or some other situation. you're talking about the health and safety of members of a community, so it's of great concern. We don't have a quorum, as the chairman said, which means it goes to recommendation if it really needs to have the significance and the importance to have a community meeting regarding this, and to make sure that Southern California Gas is aware they have to do whatever they have to do to make sure it's safe and secure for the community. It's much broader than this committee can handle at this particular time, to be honest with you, and I would defer to the chairman and follow his lead, which I think would be a benefit to the community, because I'm sure there's a lot of folks that want to be here that can't be here for a variety of reasons, but if it's taken to the community, it puts the heat on Southern California Gas to do what they need to do to make sure it's a safe, secure environment. I mean, the public heat was put on the San Onofre, and Edison's shutting it down, and that was basically because of public outrage and concern. So I look at this to say that there's a lot to be discovered, but just to say operator error, to me, isn't sufficient to say someone didn't push the right button. It's not acceptable, because the impact on the folks in that community is obviously long-lasting. So I'm going to defer to the chair.
Well, go ahead and let me ask you this. So we're going to go in that direction. We have other speaker cards: David Warren, Kathy Knight. This wasn't item 4. Marcia Hansen. Did I get that right? Marcia Hansen.
Hanscom.
John. David. And Paul Ferrazzi. And Dr. Tom Williams. If you all want to come and speak for your minute, feel free. I can note that you were here, but I'm going to take your direction and suggest that we have this a full hearing and ask the new council member to bring this to his community for a full public hearing, because I too have a lot of these same concerns. Please.
Councilman Nate Kaplan, again with Councilman Rosenthal's office. I just also want to highlight that we have a representative from the gas company as well as PUC, AQMD, Fire Department, LAPD here for this issue. Okay.
So, but I think this is going to merit a full discussion that we're going to have to dive a little more deep. I think we'll go ahead and, unless I have, did you fill out cards as well from the gas company or any? Did you want to, if you wanted to officially speak, I asked that you fill out a speaker's card. If not, we could defer it until we have the public comment. It'll be, or the public hearing. But I ask if that's entirely up to you. Yeah. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Kathy Knight. I'm Conservation Chair of the Airport Marina Group of the Sierra Club. And I would want to finish the comments started by Patricia McPherson. We would like the committee to task the LA Fire Department to investigate the incident at issue in CF 1305. We believe that the LA Fire Department should investigate these issues and report back to the committee in 60 days. We would also like to see the Public Methane Task Force reconstituted in a way that is meaningful to the residents of Los Angeles, for the LA Fire Department to work with the public members of the task force and independent groups who have oil and gas expertise, because these issues have happened in other parts of Los Angeles also. And I would like to say, we did work with Grassroots Coalition in the mid-90s to try to get a gas study done at the Playa Vista site, and it took 5 years, and we were told the experts knew a lot more than we did. But they finally did this independent study and found out that we were right. It's one of the worst gas seeps in the western United States. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming this morning. Sir.
I'm David Warren. The Miracle Mile Residential Association is very concerned with methane issues. We would like the committee to task the LA Fire Department to investigate the incident mentioned in CF 13-0542. With several large projects proposed in the Miracle Mile as well as the Purple Line, we have concerns about methane intrusion into the neighborhood. We are also concerned about the recent explosion of fires, SoCal Gas in Playa del Rey, January 2013, and believe that the LA Fire Department should investigate these issues, and report back to the committee in 60 days. Until the reasons for the explosions and fires are known, there will be unnecessary concern by the public. We will wonder if we are next. We would like to see the Public Methane Task Force reconstituted in a way that is meaningful to the residents of Los Angeles, for the LA Fire Department to work with civilian members of the task force, members of the public, and the independent groups who have oil gas expertise. Sincerely, James Sullivan, President, Miracle Mile Residential Association.
Thank you. If you can please submit that as well, if you want to. But thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And then all the next speakers after Marshall will be John, Paul, Dr. Williams.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Marcia Hanscom with the Biona Institute and the Wetlands Defense Fund. I live in the city of Los Angeles in Playa del Rey and have for 9 years. I've worked on protecting the Biona wetlands for almost 20 years now. Just before I moved to Playa del Rey, there had been a significant off-gassing event that Patricia McPherson talked about. Huge numbers of hazmat people were dispatched. There was a lot of damage to the residence areas, and who knows what the health issues and impacts were. But these serious public safety issues result because this facility is an antiquated way of storing gas. It was put in the 1940s before people lived in the area and the density that they do now. So we would like to see a report. We have not seen any official report from the fire department. The entire Biona wetlands are part of the storage field, but it's also underneath all of the businesses and residents in the area. So we really do need to see some reports, and I would hope that before you have this next hearing in the district, which I'm very grateful you want to do.
I don't want to cut you off, but I've got to do it to
report.
everybody else if I don't. But yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Sir.
Hello, my name is John Davis. The Railroad Commission, the predecessor of the CPUC, approved a contract between the Defense Plant Corporation and the gas company in 1944 under its decision 37454. That decision has expired, and currently this operation is a rogue facility that is defrauding the ratepayers because we're subsidizing something that is not currently approved by CPUC. We also need the involvement of NOAA. We need the Cal Krupa to be involved. We need to see the emergency plan. We need to consider this for Superfund status. We need to have it listed under the U.S. Chemical and Anti-Terrorism Act of 1986. And finally, I want to tell you, I witnessed a methane explosion when I was 10 years old in Richmond, Indiana, that killed over 45 people, sent over 140 people to the hospital, and caused huge amounts of damage. It was catastrophic, it was instantaneous, and I do not want to see it happen in my backyard. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
By the way, I submitted some CDs for you.
Excellent. Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Paul Ferrazzi. I'm here to say that the Citizens Coalition, or with the Citizens Coalition for a Safe Community is very concerned with the recent explosion fires in the Southern California gas Playa del Rey field. We also are concerned about the continuing gas migration in the Miracle Mile district with several large development projects proposed in this area, as well as the Purple Line. We have concerns about the historical risks of methane intrusion at explosive levels into this neighborhood. We would like the committee to task the LA Fire Department to investigate both of these incidents. Until the reasons for the gas migration, explosions, and fires are known, there will continue to be warranted concern by the public. We want to see the Public Methane Task Force used as purposed for the protection of the health and safety of residents of Los Angeles. We'd like to see the Los Angeles Fire Department work together with civilian members of the task force, members of the public, and independent groups with expertise. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Tom Williams, El Sereno. Why am I interested in the west side?
You're interested in every issue.
No.
We appreciate it. No, you have good input.
My clock is running.
Okay, we'll
add a couple seconds. As a consultant to the CPUC, we investigated Montebello gas storage and Playa del Rey gas storage. Basic issue. I don't want our firemen to go on that site until they know what the risks are. Because right now, we don't know, do they have a health and safety plan? Do they have a spill and release plan? Why was there black smoke from that flare? Is it a flare? Static electricity was reported as being one of the reasons why it blew up. In a gas facility, you do not have ungrounded facilities. Everything has to be grounded. Were they grounded? For a gas diversion operator error, you have lockouts that you cannot pull a switch unless you have a key.
Thank you, Doctor.
What's going on?
Appreciate it. Thank you. And so with that, I know I've got one last speaker card, and this is from SoCal Gas. And before you jump in on this, let me just say this is no means from my perspective, let's jump on and beat up and go after the gas company. And in fact, the gas company has been good corporate partners and good corporate citizens, and I'm sure every question that people brought up has a very good answer and is well documented in safety, but we haven't seen it, and we can't question what we don't see, and we can't ensure they're the best plans. And the concern is there, certainly from me as well, as again in my district, we have the largest site, and I have been personally, now I know staff has gotten different briefings over the years, but I've been with the office 10 years, 2 years as a council member, 8 years as a chief of staff, and I haven't ever gotten a phone call directly from the gas company to say, here's what we do to ensure safety and protection. And so I think we've got to look at, making sure that information is available. Some of the reports that were asked for from fire department, the gas company, I think it would behoove us to try to get them online prior to. I would only suggest that we try to obtain as much information for the public to look at, to be able to ask, instead of asking when this public meeting occurs, can we see these documents or are they available? The questions then can come from the documents itself and have a different level of question and answer than just simply, we don't know, we haven't seen it, we don't know what types of questions to ask because we're just asking for reports. Instead, I'm sure there are a lot of reports that can be shared. I would assume there's an after-action report on exactly what happened. I don't know if that's been released publicly. So if you can address some of those, unfortunately, I've got to afford you only the same amount of time, but is how it works. But it looks like we're going to get much more into the depth on this in the very near future.
Right. Okay. First of all, thank you for letting us come. I think a lot of the questions that you have, they have been answered through the Department of Transportation reports, but we would be more than happy to answer any questions or as any more transparent than what you might want. Do I only have a minute?
Yeah, because I can't give you more time than them. It doesn't.
Oh.
Unfortunately, that's how it works. Yeah, if you can identify
Yeah,
yourself.
my name's David Taylor. I'm Director of Underground Storage Operations for SoCal Gas. Playa del Rey is one of the underground storage fields that we operate. And I just want to say that the issue about operator error happened to be when an operator opened a valve that he shouldn't have. He mistook it for another one. We have since designed that out of that system so that valve does not communicate with the high-pressure side anniemore. And we've done a number of other things that I'd be happy to submit to you.
Okay. So what I'm going to ask is to submit in as much as in anticipation as possible for transparency. The reference, literally, this is what I had walking into this committee meeting, just so you all know. This is it. This was my entire report. So it's not, and I'm not pointing a finger at the gas company. It's not their responsibility to get us more information on this until it's asked. And it's not the responsibility of the council office that put in the motion, and it's not the responsibility of the community. It's a direction that we're going to give from this committee, that if we could, and it's not, just so everybody understands, we're not looking to, or certainly from where I'm coming from, point fingers and lay blame and say somebody's at fault and they're a bad, evil empire company at all or anything like that. I think where we're coming from, and I think Mr. Zine articulated it very, very well, is that there's concern over safety, and we want to make sure we're safe. That's really it. and I'm sure it's nothing that the gas company hasn't dealt with in other communities, and so what we need to do though is to make sure that these facilities were installed many years ago, that they've been retrofit, that they're safe, that they've been examined, that all the information in what happened in this particular incident, and ensuring that it's protected so it can't happen again. We want to know all these things. So I would ask that all those documents be submitted, that we get a copy of that prior to another committee meeting, that we then we'll ask formally the new council member, Mike Bonin, to ask if he'll continue this item for a public discussion in the community as well. I'd also ask if anybody has very specific reports and requests or items, we're going to keep the file open, to please go ahead and send emails to my office asking for those items, and we'll put those up on the file as well, that we've received that information. I don't want to just close it off and say, okay, we're done, we're sending this to council, and then note and file that we had a committee meeting and be done with it. I think this needs to be a continued dialogue for everybody, and to show that the gas company, I'm sure, has probably done quite a bit that we're just not aware of, to ensure the protections and ensure safety of its residents and its customers. But I couldn't tell you that for a fact, because I don't know what's been done, and I'm sure the community's concerns are extremely valid. So it sounds like there just needs to be a lot of communication here, and so that'll be the direction of this committee, if everybody's okay with that. Great.
We'd be happy to support it.
Terrific. Thank you all.
Couple
Yeah, Mr.
of
Zine.
questions. Have there been any community meetings regarding this situation, the incident, sponsored by the gas company?
Have there? No? Oh, okay.
No,
Okay.
I'm not the
Yeah.
community. I'm asking if Southern California Gas has done any meetings. Have they sponsored any?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And other agencies, mention of the fire department, but the PUC and all the other regulatory agencies, do they have reports on this incident?
DOT does, the CPUC does, yes. I'm not so sure if the fire department,
Because they'd have an after-action report from the deployment of their personnel, but
I guess, yeah.
what the chair wants to do, which I think is an appropriate direction for this, and the community to understand what could happen in the future or not happen in the future, and hazards, et cetera, is to open the books, open it up, and find out exactly how you prevent it. You talk about operator error. Well, what happens if it's not operator error? What happens if someone intentionally wants to do something for whatever reason? And it's a crazy world that we live in, and people do some phenomenal, crazy things. So there's got to be safeguards built in. And I think that as this goes forward, all that can be aired, and they may have to change some of the standards that they have, the way the gas company does their operation at some of those facilities. Because I know the one that happened in Northridge, and I was living there at the time, when there was an explosion, and that flame lasted for weeks. You may have been with the gas company at that time.
No, I wasn't, but I heard about it.
And I lived up in there, and that it was difficult to live in that. And the chairman lives in that area, and the residents are unaware that those canyons are that's where they store the gas, and it's a volatile situation. What safeguards they have in there, I don't know. I don't know if the community knows, but this really opens up the door to a lot of questions, and they need to get the answers.
Happy to
So with
provide.
that, this obviously will be continued.
Yes, absolutely. And so we'll go ahead and do that. That'll be the action of this committee. And again, I want to thank you all for coming, and the gas company as well. We're going to have that public dialogue and continue this, and I'm feeling it's going to be a lot more than one meeting, but it's a good thing. We need to put the information out there and get some of these answers. I also want to thank the fire department for coming in this morning as well. And Mr. Zine, if we could, once again, this will conclude his final meeting of the Public Safety Committee of 12 years in the City Council.
Yep.
God bless.
Thank you.
All right. A gift of taxpayer funds donated to Mr. Zine. He gets to keep it? Gets to keep it. Unless we get another Dennis P. Zine, I think he can have it.
Thank you. That's the important part. Are you sure?
Oh, great. Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much.